And we are live. Drew, it is Thursday night. How are we doing today?
Can I
It's
get
a
the
lot of
Rocky
excitement.
intro? Can I get the Rocky intro as my theme? Like, I want to be. Like, if I find like the local high school, Folsom High School or Lincoln High School, to be like, now introducing. Can we go full blown?
Out of this
All the great
corner, we
podcasts have a
have.
really good
I do
intro.
that.
That's why we haven't exploded yet. We need you know. But I'm gonna lie about my weight. I'm gonna be like 6'2", 215, not 6'2",
oh,
250. Just so
oh
you
no!
know.
Don't worry. I'll do the same thing.
All right, perfect.
All right,
I saw
man.
the 2020 podcast. They were fatter in person.
Yeah, some little kid's gonna say that to us. Like, you know what? Shut the fuck up, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny. Go sit your ass down and watch WWE. This is
Right?
grown man-ish.
All right, man. So on our docket today, we have the remaining free agents is where we're going to start off on. We also are going to be talking about trades. Trades are being given away like the NFL's Oprah. You get a trade. You get a trade. Everybody gets a trade. And we're also going to talk about Aaron Donald's retirement, looking back at the Deshaun Watson trade, mock draft 3.0, and getting back into the NBA content finally after a very long break. We're jumping right back into it. So, top of the list, the top 10 remaining free agents and their landing spots is where we're going to start it off today. So, no particular order with this one. I'm not going to be like, okay, this is my 10, then this is my 9. No particular order. These are just my 10 remaining free agents as of Thursday, 8 p.m. Starting off, we have safety Justin Simmons. Where do you have Justin Simmons landing? Where's his best fit?
San Francisco.
is that it for every single one?
No, I mean there's a couple that of course I fit to us. We're in the market for a safety. That's a fact. Yeah. I know I've seen him to the Colts and a couple other places, but Jair Brown was a rookie last year. He did really good, but I don't think he's ready to take in the spot, the step up. We lost Logan Ryan. He's back on the cruise ship. And Hufanga is still coming back from a knee injury. You don't know how he's going to bounce back. And even if he does bounce back, having someone like Justin Simmons around, he's not a 33 or 34-year-old safety. He's not going to come at a huge cost. And obviously he's not signed this late into the offseason, like the season starts tomorrow or something crazy. But I just, as a diehard 49er fan, and this podcast 50% stands the Niners, I would like to see Justin Simmons in the red and gold this year. I think he would be a big step forward for us.
So how I did this is I tried to, with some of these free agents that are remaining, there wasn't an estimated contract because some of these guys are cap casualties, right? Like Justin Simmons, who are the other ones, like J.K. Dobbins. Some of those guys they don't have an exact number attached to them. So with Justin Simmons, I tried to guesstimate roughly how much he would make, and then also try to find guys or teams that would fit very specifically this type of player. And I found that the Dolphins is my final landing spot for Justin Simmons. Safety is Deshaun Elliott. He went to the Steelers. Brandon Jones went to the Broncos. So doing this would give him a little swap. They're both gone. And then Javon Holland is in his last year of his deal. So you're not sure where that is going to go. So honestly, I see Justin Simmons probably signing a 1, maybe 2-year deal, especially if he's waiting this out. I could see it a bigger deal for 1 year, at least bigger for a safety in the very least. Miami wants to win now. They're not wanting to win in a couple of years. So, exactly. Good luck. But that's what they want to do. So signing a guy like Justin Simmons is going to, at least they think it's going to elevate them into that position. So a 1-year deal for a really good safety is probably where we're sitting with Justin Simmons. And then next we have Stephon Gilmore. I'll go ahead and take this one first. I have the Eagles. They desperately need to rehaul their secondary. And with some of these, you could say, hey, we have the draft. We can go in and draft a corner. Drafting, you don't want to rely on the draft. You want to have options available to you. So rehauling your secondary and bringing a guy like Stephon Gilmore, Bradley Roby is a free agent. Slot corner Avonte Maddox is got released. Now you have Keely Ringo and then a bunch of old guys, right, who get burned outside of Slay, who's playing at a decent level, but Bradbury's just not a good player anymore. He just got absolutely cooked and torched all year. Having another guy on the outside and maybe being able to walk away from a contract is maybe the right decision for the Eagles, because they walk away from bad deals all the time. They sign big names. It doesn't work out. They cut them pretty quick and they move on to the next thing. Where do you have Stephon Gilmore going?
I would love, honestly, I don't know how likely this is, but I'd love to see him re-sign with the Patriots. I think that he fits what they're doing over there and also can mentor a young Christian Gonzalez. And I just kind of love the idea of that. You know, I love Christian Gonzalez. I've been on him since day one. I thought he had a really strong case at Defensive Rookie of the Year, even with the injury. And I think he's I think he's a surefire. I don't know if he's Sauce. I don't know if he's Patrick Surtain. What do they call that guy? P2.
Both.
You know, I don't know if he's those two quite yet, but I just think if you want a surefire guy, and that's what Christian Gonzalez is, and then you bring Stephon Gilmore. I honestly wouldn't rule out the fact that if he signs late in free agency with back with the Cowboys either, because you know Diggs is still coming off the injury. But I would really like to see him at the Patriots as that in that mentor role. I think he's at the point in his career where he's going to start signing those 1-year deals, a la Darrelle Revis, and I just think that he was really good for the Patriots, so I think that can make some sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think that there's been reports coming out that there is mutual interest there, so it's definitely a possibility that can happen. Now, moving on to the running back position, we have J.K. Dobbins up. You go ahead first on this one. Where do you have J.K. Dobbins landing?
I have to be honest with you. I tried to do a little research on all of this to make more of a nuanced take as opposed to shooting from the hip, and I got through about half. And I did some really good notes on a lot of these guys. But for J.K. Dobbins, I literally just wrote J.K. Dobbins, Cowboys, duh. And so I guess that was my thought process at the time. Like that. The biggest running back need in the NFL right now is the Cowboys. I don't think they have anybody on the roster. And like you mentioned I know you're going to tell me about the Deuce Vaughn or the Turpin or whatever the hell you guys call him, but let's be honest. And you mentioned at the top of this that the draft isn't where you go to fill a super big need. Now, the two running backs at the top of the draft, they're not first round guys, but they are multi-talented guys in the run game and the passing game. So I think that could fill a hole, but you also don't want to rely on a rookie to be, if you sign J.K. Dobbins and you draft the rookie and the rookie blazes in camp and looks great, everybody's happy, right? But if you sign the rookie, put those expectations on him, and then, you know, a hamstring strain or something, where are you at now? I mean, honestly, if you guys sign J.K. Dobbins and you draft a rookie, I still think you need to sign someone else also. Like, you need another guy because these injuries happen, especially with J.K. Dobbins. So I think I'm honestly surprised he hasn't signed with the Cowboys already, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this is spoiler alert. This is the only Cowboy spot that I had. A lot of these needs that we have with a lot of these players, it's like, oh yeah, the Cowboys can sign them. But then again, I'm going down the cap space, and I'm like, we just don't have the cap space for some of these guys. You just can't do it. Sorry, moving on. But J.K. Dobbins is one of the ones where we can land him. Obviously, running back is a major hole. Tony Pollard going to the Titans. Rico Dowdle going ahead and re-signing with us. So we have Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle. They're the only healthy running backs on the squad at this point. So bringing, just like you said, J.K. Dobbins, maybe drafting a guy. I'm a huge Trey Benson guy. Other guys want Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum. He's probably a Charger, but you know, so J.K. is a Cowboy in my mind. At least I hope so. Now moving on to my favorite position, as Drew would put it, the interior offensive line. Connor Williams, I have him going to the Broncos. Connor Williams played center and has played center for the past couple of years, and the Broncos have a hole now with Lloyd Cushenberry leaving in free agency. Connor Williams hasn't signed yet, and I think that the Broncos could probably get him on a cheaper deal, especially since he has been a little injury prone in the past. Get him on a cheaper deal, plug him in for a hole for whatever quarterback is coming in. I think that's probably a pretty good landing spot for him. Where do you have Mr. Williams landing?
Where do you think?
Is it the Niners?
Spoiler alert, this is my last Niners pick for this. I just think it makes a ton of sense. He's not a ton of money. Offensive line is our biggest area concern right now. That's where everybody thinks we're going with our first pick. A Tyler Guyton or a Jackson Powers, or the kid from Arizona State. I'm so terrible with names, but I always remember the colleges. I don't know if that's just me
Jordan
or if
Morgan.
you're like that also. Thank you. But I'm just like, oh yeah, that dude from went there and he went there and he went there. Maybe it's because they don't play in college very long, so you just kind of remember them briefly like that. But and I just don't really want the 49ers to get wonky and pull a Patriots and draft like a Cole Strange in the second round way too early when they're not ready. So if we signed a player like this and slotted him in at center, we already brought back our center from last year, John Feliciano, who was really good. And then with your first overall pick, you can start doing, you can start looking at corner there. Diamador Lenore is going to need an extension. Mooney Ward is coming up, et cetera, et cetera. So if you fill this role in free agency with a full-time player, then you don't have to rely on a rookie. And I'm not exactly sure how much I love relying on a rookie on the offensive line anyway, if it's not one of these top 5 guys. Now, there could be some things that are happening.
Go ahead. You see some, like, I really only think that you see offensive line rookies play a major role on teams if they're really either the line's really struggling and it's a major hole, or it's not a very good team, right? You look at the teams that drafted offensive linemen high last year. They're not very good teams, right? The Steelers, the Bears, those guys don't have very good teams. And if a rookie does play a ton, it's because they have an injury on that line that forces them into that spot. Like, and that's generally not a player that goes first year.
That's not a player that goes at 31. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know you didn't love the pick when the Cowboys did that, but I'm a firm believer. We argued all week. I sent you a bunch of stats all week on the Rams and their offensive guards, but I'm just a firm believer that you can find a starting guard in the 4th or 5th round right now if you find a guy that fits your scheme. So I would really like the 49ers to take a peek at this and see if it can make some sense for them. But I don't disagree with the Broncos either. That was a good idea. That's a good landing spot for him.
Next, we do have Jadeveon Clowney. You go ahead and take the reins on this one first. Where is Mr. Clowney going? Probably another 1-year deal somewhere.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney is a guy who has basically decided that he doesn't want to do training camp. So I don't expect him to sign anywhere for quite a while. And I think, to be honest with you, it's going to be whatever team has the big edge rusher injury when he's ready to sign. For right now, I'm just going to call it the Dolphins because Jalen is coming off an injury. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season. It doesn't sound like, and they have a hole there. I wouldn't rule out coming back to Bradley the Ravens. Yeah. But I also think that there's going to be a team who, suffers a injury at his position first week of training camp, second week of training camp, OTAs, whether it be an ACL or an Achilles or something like that. And then that's when he signs. So for right now, I think good fits are the Dolphins or him going back to the Ravens. But I also feel like the team that he might fit best on may not be known right now because they're still healthy at this moment.
Yeah. I have the Seattle Seahawks. Last year's defense struggled a lot, especially with their edge rusher position.
Hasn't he been a Seahawk?
Defense, yeah, he has.
So
it's a defense that's been pushed around. Yeah, it's a defense that was pushed around quite a bit. Also, Mike McDonald from the Ravens went over to the Seahawks, so you have some familiarity there too as well. So Leonard Williams is back on a 3-year deal. So you do also have Mike Morris coming out of last year's draft. Boye Mafe, who I was a big fan of coming out. Super athletic. He's just not a big power guy. Again, this defensive line got pushed around a lot last year. And I think a guy like Clowney coming in, again, it's a competitive team, wants to make the playoffs in a very competitive division. You have the Niners, you have the Rams, you have the Seahawks, and the Cardinals, I guess, if you want to name them. It's a competitive division, and bringing on Clowney to go against those division opponents is going to be very important for them. So I have Clowney going to the Seahawks. But I agree with you, everything you said about him signing late, 1-year deal, someone getting injured potentially. I do think it's going to be a late time signing. I don't think we're going to see this anytime soon.
Sure.
And then next, I have Xavier Howard, cornerback. You did mention the Niners do need corner, and this is my one Niners landing spot. Secondary is pretty glaring need for you guys outside of the offensive line stuff. It's been a pretty big weakness. I mean, you have to decide, just like you always like to say, Logan Ryan off of a cruise ship to play your nickel.
That's a fact, bro.
You have Ward, Isaiah Oliver got signed with the Jets, Lenore and Ambry Thomas. Where are they at right now? Where's Lenore and Thomas?
Lenore's the other outside guy. He's gonna get paid. He played really well last year. He stepped up in a big way. Ambry Thomas is our slot guy. He's improved a lot, but not enough to where you just pencil him in at that position going forward. That's why we signed Isaiah Oliver in the offseason last year. Obviously, he didn't pan out. The Jets have signed him to play safety. So,
if I'm not mistaken, those guys are going to be up for contract after next year. So, maybe getting on Xavier Howard more than a 1-year deal might be a good idea. Maybe a 2, so you don't have to worry about multiple corners at the end of this next year. So, could end up filling a hole not just for this year, but for the future as well. So that's why I have Xavier Howard going.
Yeah, the Rams have cornerback depth issues just like the 49ers do. But I kind of like the idea of, hear me out here, it's not a need currently, but there's a team that just won the Super Bowl that has a corner on the franchise tag that they may be looking to move. And then they'd have a pretty glaring hole at corner themselves. So I think if you can flip L'Jarius Sneed for draft picks and compensation and things like that, and then sign Xavier Howard to come in and play, especially with a Trent McDuffie and everything you got going over there. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year because that defense was amazing. And so I just don't think there's nothing they've done on offense. I know Hollywood Brown is cool and all that other stuff, but there's nothing they've done on offense that impresses me enough to where I think that their defense can take a step back. I think they need to continue on that defensive push. And if they want to get back into the Super Bowl contention next year, I think that could be a good fit for them.
Do you get a first-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed?
That's a great question. I don't think you do with this draft because of how deep the class is. There's corners everywhere. Yep. So why would you trade that first round pick for L'Jarius Sneed and have to pay him when you can just go get? I mean, I texted you. Kool-Aid ran a blazing fast 40 with a Jones fracture in his foot, and he's slated in the back half of the 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean,
if not the second.
I think you could easily just swap L'Jarius Sneed for like, I don't know. If it was,
you look at the level, a different draft.
He's first round pick worthy. He's first round pick worthy. I'm with you on that. But to give up that first round pick and pay him when the guys are there anyway, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Kool-Aid's there, Cooper DeJean is there. There's players that are there, and it just NFL teams think of it that way. You know, you trade DeForest Buckner to draft a Javon Kinlaw just because of the money. So, you know, it's just one of those situations where I don't know. I mean, the way the Chiefs are built right now, if you can sign an Xavier Howard to be your number 2 and you can swap L'Jarius for like a third, you know, a fourth this year and a first next year, something like that, maybe that makes sense. I don't know, but they can also pay him off on the franchise tag. That's all guaranteed money, so they could just pay him and keep him this year. You know,
it's true. It's a tough situation because I feel like I know the T. Higgins stuff is looming as well about trade. I think T. Higgins actually might stay this year in Cincinnati. I don't know if Sneed is going to stay in Kansas City though. It feels like Kansas City, and the rumors that are going around is Kansas City is actively shopping the the corner for the Chiefs, obviously L'Jarius Sneed. So I think he will get moved. I'm just not sure on the landing spot for that. But moving on to our next landing spots, we have an offensive guard here, Dalton Risner. I reused one team, and it's a team I just mentioned not that long ago. Not the Niners, but their division rival, the Seahawks. On the offensive line, Seattle got wrecked with injuries. their entire offensive line, Damian Lewis, Phil Haynes, Evan Brown hitting free agency, right? They already hit free agency. Damian Lewis is gone. Signing with the Panthers. Evan Brown is with the Cardinals. Haynes can be re-signed, but he is not there quite yet. And Dalton Risner is a better player than Phil Haynes. So I think this is a good landing spot for Risner. Seattle has the money to pay this type of guard at this type of level. I think this is something that might get waited on a little bit longer, maybe even after the draft if Seattle can't fill that hole with a Jackson Powers Johnson, because Jackson Powers Johnson doesn't only play center, he plays guard as well. I feel like that gets slipped behind, between the cracks a little bit. But if they can't fill it in the draft, I think you can go after a guy like this, kind of in that next wave of free agency that seems to happen right after the draft season. Where do you have Risner going?
I kind of slotted him in at the Jadeveon Clowney type of somebody gets injured, he gets signed type of thing. The dude has played so many games. He's only missed a couple with injury. He's not a PFF star by any means, but he's 28. I think he was on a 1-year, like $3 million deal last year. Risner is the exact type of player that makes me scratch my head when you hand the $50 million to the guard. I just wonder, like, how much better is that guy than this guy when you can get this guy? Like, you can give Risner a 3-year deal, and he's not spectacular by any means, but if you told me that you're going to give this guy 3 years, $14 million, and he's going to start 85% of your games for the next 3 years, what else can you ask for a guard? And the Vikings have ran 2 different offenses. Oh, he was only there for 1 year. Where was he at before? The Broncos?
Yes, Risner was with the Broncos.
I mean, they ran the wide zone stuff last year. The Vikings did. So he's and the Broncos were a power running team before that. So he's played in both type of offenses. Like it's obviously that he can succeed in both ways. I just this seems like this is going to be like a steal, I think, when it finally shakes out, because he's clearly not getting starting guard money. I know that's what he wants. He put on social media the other day. He was like, by the way, I've played 70 games and only missed 3 and this and that and the other. And he obviously wants starting guard money. Clearly the Vikings didn't offer it to him. But I mean, this is just not to skirt the question, not give you a team without saying the Niners again, but it's just one of those things where he's one of those players, man. He's gonna fill a role, and he's gonna be a good fit wherever he lands.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Tyler Boyd, I'm a little excited about this one. I want to see where do you have Tyler Boyd going?
Tyler Boyd / Odell Beckham Jr. / Hunter Renfrow / Mike Thomas / any other available wide receiver should all sign in LA with the Chargers.
Okay.
That's what they need. They got no wide receivers. Don't miss me with this Quentin Johnson bullshit. Actually, that's a lie. I want Hunter Renfrow to sign with the Cowboys. I think if he got healthy, that could take him over the top. So, but besides that, Tyler Boyd, I think, would be Tyler Boyd / Odell Beckham Jr. is the Chargers to me.
Yeah, it's a good landing spot. I went on the other side. I went to the NFC, and man, I'm staying in that NFC West for quite a long time, lingering in there. But we're going to stay in there, and we're going to go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals should sign Tyler Boyd. You look at Kyler Murray when he came back from injury. Your QB 11 for points per game, 10th in expected points per game after returning from your torn ACL. Much of the production came from rushing, which obviously coming off of a torn ACL is pretty impressive. But you look at the wide receivers and the talent that's around him going into next year, excluding the potential Marvin Harrison Jr. Second year wide receiver Michael Wilson, who had a good rookie year, but that's not a guy that you're coming in to step in as a 1. You have tight end Trey McBride, another good target, but we're not talking about a guy. We're not talking about Travis Kelce. We're not talking about a George Kittle or a Mark Andrews. We're talking about Trey McBride. They need something else, right? So Tyler Boyd coming in, and then you draft a rookie wide receiver. Again, a Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, depending on how the draft shakes out, you get another guy in there. Kyler can be successful. I am a believer in Kyler Murray. Not everybody is. I think he'll be way more successful this year with a healthy season. No Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury guy at all. unsuccessful offense. He's piss poor. This is where I want Tyler Boyd to go. So, moving on to an edge rusher, I have Kyle Van Noy slotted in to go to the Bears. The Bears finished second fewest in sacks, and is
the rich get richer.
32nd ranked. Yes, 32nd ranked pass rush. Yes, you traded for Montez Sweat before the trade deadline, and he played fantastic. But you need more guys going after the quarterback. What this does for you is it opens up options at that 9th pick. If you want to trade out of it, congratulations, you can. If you want to drive for wide receiver, congratulations, you brought in Kyle Van Noy to push the can down the road a little bit further. Or if you still want to go with an edge rusher, you still can. Kyle Van Noy's not stopping me. So I like Kyle Van Noy to the Bears to bolster up that defensive line a little bit.
Yeah, I think Kyle Van Noy should be a Carolina Panther. I think that I think it would be hard pressed for him to want to go play there, but you figure with the
anybody doesn't want to play there.
I mean, they have the biggest needs. You know what I mean? When you talk about they lost their linebacker,
Frankie
Lavu, and then obviously Brian Burns. So they got a big hole there, and they just need excellent, solid players that come in and fill their role. But then there was another one that I was thinking about, and it was actually with Minnesota and the Vikings, because he has played for Brian Flores before. And I thought that, anytime you're a player that's kind of, I feel like this is the 4th year in a row he's been released from his contract. He was with the Patriots. I think he was with the Miami Dolphins at one point. So when you're a player that's kind of trying to gain some footing, I think he might have been with the Dolphins twice, to be honest with you. My memory could be failing me there. But going to somewhere where you're familiar, or maybe go to Carolina and you get a little bit more money than expected, and you ball out because there ain't nothing else out there. That's, there's 2 options there. I think that it would be good for him to, as I've said a couple of times now, wait to just kind of see what happens, wait for a team to get a little bit more desperate, and then maybe pounce on a team's desperation.
Yeah, definitely. And our last guy that you're going to take first is Steven Nelson, Mr. Slot Corner himself. Where is he going to end up?
Yeah,
not the Niners.
No, I think that I think kind of like you mentioned this team earlier, the Philadelphia Eagles make some sense to me. And that's kind of where I see him slotted in. Weirdly, when I was like researching him up a little bit, I saw him linked in like 2 or 3 articles to the Cowboys, and I was just like, that's interesting because they seem like they have a lot of corners. I don't know about your slot corners, but
we brought back Jordan Lewis, and then obviously Deron Bland can play in the slot, depending on what we go with, in the draft.
So I mean, I think the Eagles need any defensive help they can get. I know everybody's slurping them up because they signed Saquon Barkley, but I'm not all that impressed because this is still the team that's entire offense collapsed last year and their defense couldn't stop anybody. So,
and I have the Chargers. Asante Samuel obviously is their shoe-in for CB1, and he's a fantastic player. Everything else needs to go. I don't care what's in that secondary. Steven Nelson is not going to be stopped, or should not be stopped from signing there. You can't trot out who they have. Jasir Taylor, horrible slot corner. You can't trot out Deanne Leonard, 7th round pick as a starter. You can't do that. The guys who are unproven or have played and they're not good. So Steven Nelson to the Chargers feels like the fit to me, especially with John Harbaugh is building that team in a very interesting way. Should be very defense oriented. They're getting rid of all their wide receivers, and then should be bolstering up that line, almost like he's trying to build Michigan in the NFL. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but
Blake Corum's a beast, bro.
Next we have the trades, dude. Oh my gosh. So after you and I were getting off, you literally specifically said on the podcast that, oh yeah, when something else happens in the next hour, 2 hours, we're going to be angry. We're not going to cover it for a week. Literally the next day, all this happens. Keenan Allen, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields gone, like all within 2 days, all this stuff ends up happening. And I'm going to blame it on you because, you said that all this stuff was going to end up happening and it did. So Keenan Allen to the Bears is where we're going to go ahead and start.
You're welcome. I love the fit. I mean, come on. You're Keenan Allen for Caleb Williams. Let's go.
Dude.
Suck it, Bears fans. I told you. Suck it. Suck it. I'm doing the DX chop right now. Suck it. Listen, y'all, just so you know, Justin Fields went for less than Trey Lance did. The Cowboys believe more in the potential of Trey Lance than any NFL team did in Justin Fields. Do you see? Hold on. Matter of fact, breaking news for the podcast. Justin Fields is here live in the 2020 studios. I got him right here, boys. Justin Fields. This is Justin Fields right here, guys. That's Justin Fields live in the 2020 podcast studios. I'm glad he can make it. Clip that, put it on YouTube, put it on TikTok. Come see me, Bears fans. I hope all of you guys are headed down to get your Caleb Williams jerseys right now because he's now inviting you back to relevancy for the first time in many, many years.
Yeah, so this is exactly what it is, right? You could say, oh, it's Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen, we're getting Keenan Allen for whoever new quarterback, it's Caleb Williams, right? Allen, he's 31, he's entering the final season of a 4-year contract. He was asked to take a pay cut, and he basically said, no.
See my numbers? Numbers?
I've had my best numbers, right? Yeah, right. 108 passes.
It's pretty gangster, by the way.
1,243 yards. It's the 6th time he's gone over 1,000 yards. Oh, and by the way, he missed 4 games.
Oh, and by the way, it was some backup quarterback no one's ever heard of before. Not Justin Herbert. Easton frickin' Stick, Madden legend. Okay.
Madden legend. We're the only ones who can reference Easton Stick. Oh, man.
Him and Ben DiNucci, man.
Keenan Allen to the Bears is a great, great fit. I want to talk a little bit more about this when we get around to the mock draft, because when it comes to that 9th pick, if there is a wide receiver there, I do want to have a little bit further conversation about the Keenan Allen stuff. But Keenan Allen to the Bears for a 4th round pick is a steal, it feels like. And yes, he's older, but Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, maybe another wide receiver, DeAndre Swift, a better offensive line than last year. You're surrounding a rookie quarterback with the talent it needs.
And sure. Just to be clear, I love it for the Chargers also. I don't think it was a shoo-in that they could have gotten better than a 4th. He's 31. He's had injury concerns his entire career, and he makes a lot of money. So I think getting a 4th for him is great fit for a player that, frankly, clearly wasn't moving the needle for them in the previous years. He's a great wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Keenan Allen fan. But keeping him around this year wasn't changing anything for you. So,
yep. Moving on to a guy that doesn't move the needle for anybody, Kenny Pickett to the Eagles. Drew, real quick, I want to fire off numbers at you because going through some of my research, as you know, I uncover some stuff that's absolutely bonkers, and we know the Kenny Pickett stuff is bad, but sometimes it needs to be put into perspective. Okay. Over his couple of years of starting, he has 4,474 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. That's some quarterbacks' full seasons with more touchdowns and less interceptions. 315 quarterbacks have over 500 pass attempts since the merger. Only one has thrown a touchdown on fewer than 2% of their total passes. Kenny Pickett with 1.9%. 1.9% of his passes are touchdowns. Again, he's the only one. In the last 20 years, Kenny Pickett has the fewest touchdowns of any starting quarterback when compared to his stats. Other notable quarterbacks with more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett since the start of last season, not just this season, start of last season. Davis Mills, who didn't play this year. Marcus Mariota, who didn't play this year. Matt Ryan, who's retired. So you have a couple of guys, yeah, kind of. You have a couple of guys who did not play this year at all, and a guy who's retired.
How many did Joe Flacco throw this year?
I think he threw 7 or 8,
and that was like in 6 games or something.
Yeah, which I think Kenny Pickett he was 6-4. He has 6 touchdown passes with 4 picks.
My man Kenny is literally just afraid to throw the football. It's actually quite impressive that he threw that many passes and he only had 13 picks with how bad he is. But frankly, if the ball needed to travel more than 2 yards down the field, my man had a worse ADOT than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's hard to do because Jimmy don't throw the ball downfield.
Yep.
So
Kenny Pickett had 6 touchdown passes, dude. The Dallas Cowboys defense and special teams also had 6 passes.
Wait, hold on. Please hold for the podcast. How many touchdowns did DaRon Bland have last year?
He had
7. Was that the record? 7 pick sixes. 7, and how many did Kenny Pickett have?
6.
All right, DaRon Bland for starting QB for the Steelers. I love it.
Yeah. Tommy DeVito threw 3 touchdown passes in a game. Kenny Pickett, over his last 7 games that he started, threw 2 touchdown passes. Just, again, put in perspective. Tommy DeVito now has more career games with multiple passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett.
Not afraid to throw the football.
Kenny Pickett has more time to throw than the league average, and yet is below league average in every advanced stat except his inaccuracy rate, which is he ranks higher than league average. And I could keep going, looking at the Mason Rudolph in 2019 in 10 games and Kenny Pickett this year in 10 games. It's not even close. Mason Rudolph has more touchdowns, a little bit more interceptions, but a better passer rating, more yards per game. Why he was trotted out there, but it's not just the statistics. His attitude sucked. I don't know how much you knew about all this stuff. He did not get taking benched well at all. He denied being dressing for a third quarterback, and it was week 17. He did not want to dress. He was not going to dress, and he did not take the Russell Wilson trade good at all. So he tried to play it off like it was fine. Oh, this is the direction we're going. His attitude sucks. And he goes to a team that he's guaranteed a number 2 spot. You're going to be a number 2 anyways before the Justin Fields trade. Then you were going to be number 3, and now you're going to be a 2 behind Jalen Hurts. So,
yeah, I mean, at least in this case, Jalen has a proficiency at getting injured, and I think the Eagles are kind of questioning that quarterback decision anyway. And just so you know, Steelers fans who are celebrating, your guys' QB room didn't get any better. So don't come out here celebrating, marching down the field. You got the only quarterback in the NFL that's just as bad as Kenny Pickett as an in-pocket passer, and you got the corpse of Russell Wilson. So, and I've been a 49er fan a long time. I hate Russell Wilson. I'm preying on his downfall. I love watching him with the Broncos. That made me happy. That dude put more heartbreak into my heart than anything. And hey, did you see Malcolm Butler at the Boston Celtics game the other night? And
him getting a standing ovation.
Standing ovation. Yep. Shout out to the Boston fans for knowing who Malcolm Butler is by his face, because they panned to him before they even put up the little thing with his name. The whole, what is it, TD Gardens, I think they call it. The whole arena started freaking the hell out because of that. I was like, everybody knows that Boston fans, except for the ones that live in California, are awesome fans. And that was just legit. Like, I was because, Malcolm Butler's had an up and down career. I mean, he that was his defining moment of his career. And he's just sitting there hanging out with your boy, Paul Pierce. And I bet, honestly, he probably wouldn't tell you, but I bet that was I bet he loved that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Good for him. Fuck Paul Pierce. Anyways, Justin Fields traded, already mentioned, but going to the Steelers. This is inevitable, right? Fuck off, every motherfucker in my comment section. You don't know what Chicago wants. Bitch, I know apparently more than Chicago. Dude, this had to be done, right? It is impossible to have Justin Fields and a new quarterback in the locker room at the same time in Chicago. And now Jalen Johnson's already coming out. I don't know if you saw this, his quote being like, "Hey, we don't don't bring any of that Hollywood stuff here. Like, you got to prove it and you got to get respect." I don't mind the quote if you could have like probably left out some of the like, "Oh, don't bring the Hollywood stuff over here." Not sure what it's referencing in that instance. So there is maybe already a little bit of maybe sting because the Justin Fields was loved so much in that locker room, but he's just not good enough. He's just not good enough. Okay. At the end of the day. Okay.
Listen,
that's all it is.
Caleb Williams might be a bust. Who knows? He might be the next Andrew Luck. Who knows? But he's the number 1 overall pick. He's been anointed that for 2 years. The dude is an amazing thrower of the football. And here's the fact. He's coming with all the pomp and circumstance a franchise savior is ever going to come with. Like, there's been as much hype of this guy, more than Trevor Lawrence, more than Joe Burrow, more than Kyler Murray. This is Andrew level hype, Andrew Luck level hype. Yeah. And they got a team set up for him to succeed. That's what's crazy. The defense, ferocious. The offensive weapons, impressive. Way more impressive than they've been in many, many years, except for that contract they handed to their running back. Again, Chicago Bears fans trying to justify every damn thing they do. I swear, they could sign... who is just super... I don't know. I'm not even going to go there on this podcast, actually. But the Bears fans would think it was great. Whatever the worst NBA player, the worst NFL player, the most controversial NFL player, or, I'll text you once we get, if you remind me of the name that popped in my head, a certain safety that's going to jail for his bad deeds he did against women. That's the name that popped into my mind. So, just they could do like anything at this point. The Bears fans would think it was the most amazing thing in the world, but the crazy thing is they brought up that defense. They got rid of Justin Fields, their running back, and quarterback. Sorry, I apologize. And Caleb's coming.
Yeah,
he's officially a plus 1,000 favorite. It's gonna happen. It's basically done at this point. And let's go Bears. Bear down, baby.
To the Justin Fields fans, let me talk to you for a second.
All 3 of you.
Incredible athlete, right? He has a good size, good work ethic. He seems to be really good in the community. Teammates follow his lead, great in the locker room. This year, his QBR was down 12 points from last year, 44.7. Fields' fourth quarter passer rating, 50.1, putting him near the bottom of the NFL with Jameis Winston, Trevor Siemian, Bailey Zappi. 6 fourth quarter interceptions, tied for league worst. Fields threw 170 yards against the league's worst defense, statistical defense, the Arizona Cardinals. And he only threw 35 yards after halftime, 35 yards. 38-year-old Joe Flacco threw 212 yards against the Bears in the fourth quarter alone with backup offensive linemen. So, just to put it in a little bit of context. So if you're going, oh, well, he's not just a passer. That's fine. He's a rusher too. 2,731 total yards from scrimmage. 18 touchdowns, 9 picks. Who's comparable to that? It's not Lamar Jackson. You can stop right there. It's not Lamar. He's not Lamar. Another guy who had similar scrimmage yards, 3,028 scrimmage yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Any guesses who that is? He's a journeyman. Just went to a new team. Mr. Gardner Minshew himself. That's who he's comparable to this year. So, again.
And just to be clear, if you ask 32 NFL teams, they would all take Gardner Minshew over Justin Fields.
He has thrown 39 touchdowns in his career. Lamar Jackson threw for 36 in his second season. Blake Bortles threw for 35 in a season.
The Bortlenator? Wow. Dude, that's a great reference. Bortles. Hey, he went to an AFC championship game, bro. Blake Bortles was almost Nick Foles' legend, bro.
That's true.
Bortles almost did it.
Yep. So, again, get over it. You should be rejoicing that a number 1 overall pick, a quarterback, is coming in and taking over the helm and restarting that quarterback market that you could go out and you can trade and you can sign for these guys. That's the only reason you can go and do this stuff.
It's not even your guys' pick. That's the thing. It's not your pick. Yep. It's the Panthers' pick.
You are lucky.
You get to restart your franchise for free. It cost you nothing. It literally cost you it cost you not having to take Bryce Young, realistically.
Yeah.
So, honestly, here's the thing. If you're a Chicago Bear fan and you're listening to this and you're really disappointed that your team lost Justin Fields, and I'm going to scale it back a little bit because I know about him as a man, and Justin Fields has been an excellent representation of Chicago Bears football. He's been an excellent rep for the league, all that stuff. He's probably going to beat out Russell Wilson, and he'll be the starter over there. He'll have a shot.
Yeah.
But your front office identified that Bryce Young was not the answer and got out of the ability to draft that player. Now they've decided that Justin Fields is not the answer. They've stacked up your defense. They traded for the better player from Washington. They didn't get Chase Young. They re-signed Jalen Johnson. They got Keenan Allen for a fourth. Your guys' front office is knocking it out of the park, and they've identified the next franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears, whether it's Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May. We're going to find out live together on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They've identified a new franchise cornerstone for you guys, and you have to understand that they're fucking killing it right now. So you need to just get on board with it, because whatever franchise player the Chicago Bears have identified, you got to trust them because they have not misstepped in this whole process. Shout out to them. They're killing it right now.
Yep. Be grateful for your front office, you bitch.
Yeah, you can have an 85-year-old senile man who's, we're going big this year. And they ain't done shit. They stole Eric Kendricks from the 49ers and they signed their long snapper, and that's it. Yeah, we're going to go big this year. We're going to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean in free agency. I meant we're getting a bigger Jumbotron for Jerry's Palace. I'm just saying, like, you could have him. You could be the Panthers, but you're not. You're the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears have been trashed for like 30 years. So shout out to you guys for sticking around. It's now your time.
Yep.
You guys are on the rise. Kind of sucks that the Packers are freaking legit and they might be mainstays for a couple of years, because those are going to be some battles. But hey, Chicago Bears are relevant again, and whatever decision you guys make during draft night, you have to support it. And if the number 9 pick comes up, and all of a sudden it's not the Bears on the clock anymore, then you have to support it, because they're just killing it right now, and you just need to support it.
Yeah. Now, you want to more cover the Vikings and Texans stuff once we get to the mock? We could just quickly glaze over it once we get there.
Yeah, because I need a 25-second break.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
I can entertain the people.
A lot of Justin Fields energy, and I need to go get a glass of water.
While Drew goes and he gets his water, I'm going to go ahead and start us off on Aaron Donald. He announced his retirement. We're looking at one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle, one of the best defensive players of all time. This type of dominance has not been seen. J.J. Watt. Right, he was very good for a very long time. If you take J.J. Watt and you made him healthy for his entire career, this is the type of dominance that you get. I hate to do it. Lawrence Taylor type dominance for his entire career, right? 10 years of dominance, right? Dominating offenses. 3 NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards, tied for most in NFL history. He has a Super Bowl ring. That was his last thing that he needed. Getting a win against the Bengals a couple of years ago. That's the last box he just had to check on his way out the door. He's in a Hall of Famer at this point, right? Drafted 13th overall out of Pitt, the St. Louis Rams at this point. In 2014, drafted him. Aaron Donald went out to set the franchise record with 111 career sacks. He was selected to the Pro Bowl in all 10 of his NFL seasons, and he was named first team All-Pro in 8 of those 10 seasons that he was in the league. Donald also won 2014 Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's also Drew's favorite player of all time, Aaron Donald. Donald was one of 2 defensive players since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger to earn Pro Bowl selections in each of the first 10 seasons. Again, if you don't like the Pro Bowl stuff, once again, 8 All-Pro selections. The only other player who did the Pro Bowl selections for 10 years, Lawrence Taylor. Already talked about him a little bit. Aaron Donald and Barry Sanders are the only NFL players in NFL history to play at least 10 seasons and get selected to Pro Bowl in each season. Sanders also played for 10 seasons and retired promptly after that. Over the last 5 years, we're talking about unprecedented dominance. Donald was double teamed a league high of 1,510 times as a pass rusher, 135 more than any other player. He beat 186 of those within 2.5 seconds, 51 more than any other player. Chris Jones is second with 135. Again, over the past 5 years, we're talking about advanced stats. The NFL average pass rush win rate for single pass blocker was 17%. Donald posted an 18% pass rush win rate against double teams in that span. So one of the best NFL players, defensive players, if not one of the best, not the best defensive tackle of all time, retiring. Drew watched a whole lot more than Aaron Donald than I did, though. I'm going to go ahead and let him take it away for a little bit.
You know what's crazy about Aaron Donald is he never really had a good game against the 49ers. The 49ers were so threatened by Aaron Donald that they completely schemed away from him and would just do the most outrageous. That's where the Deebo Samuel pop passes even began, because Aaron Donald was so outrageous. But in the 49ers, in the Rams hunt to put a ring on that finger to win a Super Bowl, I think he ended all of their playoff games leading up to the Super Bowl with a sack of the opposing quarterback. He damn near ripped Jimmy Garoppolo's arm out of his socket and threw him to the ground, and Jimmy threw it backwards somewhere, and it's haunted me to this day. And I think it was a play the week before that. Was it the Cowboys that he sacked Dak Prescott to end the game? It was it was like 3 straight games in a row where his hands on the quarterback ended the game and put them into the Super Bowl. Jaquiski Tart dropped interception notwithstanding. So Aaron Donald is about as, he's not Tom Brady, so forgive me for the comparison. I get it. But we don't need to wait 5 years to put Aaron Donald in the Hall of Fame. We don't need to do any of that. There's not going to be any super sad, God, I love the video of that dude, I forget his name, the big guy in the jacket, and he rolls up to Jimmy Johnson on stage, and basically he knows he's about to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and his lip starts quivering, and he's sad, and he looks at all his, because he's on that TV show with all 6 of them, and he's like,
Fox,
this just ain't right. You can't do this to me. And they did the same thing to Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher started crying on live TV. Yep. Aaron Donald ain't going to be crying on live TV. I mean, he might, but he already knows it's coming.
Thanks, bro. I got you.
Yeah, thank you. Give me my gold jacket, measure my face, get my thing in there. That's cool. Aaron Donald's not just not a Hall of Famer. In 10 years, when this podcast is doing millions of views, we can sit back and we can rank him as where he stands as one of the best all-time defenders in National Football League history, and he will be on that list. So, thank God he's gone. I love that. Congratulations on your retirement, Aaron Donald. Please let me know where to send you your favorite bottle of alcohol so you no longer torment the 49ers any longer.
It was cool to see him in his last year, too. And if you look at, he still had 10 sacks, I believe, if I'm not remembering that right. 10 sacks, so he still had double-digit sacks in his last year. And he wanted to retire, right? There was talks of him retiring after the Super Bowl, and then he comes back, and he wants to still make a run. And it's talked about and it's heavily detailed, and you can go look it up with how much these guys, Kobe Turner and Brian Young, how much these young pass rushers, these defensive tackles, rejuvenated him for his last year. Sean McVay talked about how Kobe Turner went and he sacked Joe Flacco. Right after that, Aaron Donald and both Kobe Turner sacked and gave Joe Flacco a safety. It was in one of the later week games, and Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner, literally, Aaron Donald wraps his arm around Kobe Turner, and Aaron Donald starts skipping, and so Kobe Turner starts skipping too. And Sean McVay said, I've never seen him so kind of just happy and embracing some of the guys like that. He's very much like an isolated guy, and him doing this is it's unprecedented. So it's cool to see him in his last year, at least get to enjoy himself a little bit. I don't know if you ever seen the clip of the offensive lineman go up to Aaron Donald on the sideline. He goes, tss, tss, tss. And Aaron Donald goes, "Get your fat ass away from me." He goes, "Oh, my bad, I was playing." He never suits his own teammate. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but the video of Geno Smith, bro, where he like looks up and realizes Aaron Donald's coming down the middle of the line, and he's like, like he throws the ball away. I think he's actually like, "Oh shit!" And then he like hucks the ball because he's about to get mashed by Aaron Donald. That's just so funny. And that was picked up by the TV cam. That wasn't even like a. Let me ask you this: how much would you pay? How much would you pay for the full unreleased mic'd up footage? You know what I mean? Like just nothing's edited, nothing's like if you could just, you know what I'm saying? Like dudes like George Kittle and like Chad Ochocinco back in the day. If you could just have it, like everything that was said. Come on, we're all adults. Like we watch rated R movies. Like let's just hear it.
NFL Plus already costs $5 a month. Let's bump it up a little bit and put the full unedited versions of them, and let's call it a day. Everyone's going to hop on it. You're going to make lots of money. Just put it on there. Let's call it a day. Let's do that.
I think the NFL players should be like, you know what? No, we'll go back to 2-a-days. You can have 2-a-days. You can have all this shit back, but you're not unreleased. You imagine the shit some of those people say.
Oh, yeah. No. All right, man.
I mean, if you can mic up a defensive coordinator in a meeting, we're going to effing kill those guys. We're going to rip their throats out and we're going to shit down their necks. You know what I mean? Like some of the crazy shit that they probably say that. And then, Mommy, why is Daddy doing that on TV? It would just be terrible. It probably wouldn't be good for anybody, but I still would pay for it because,
why not? Looking back at our last segment, let's take a look back at the, we're talking about one of the worst trades in NFL history with the Deshaun Watson trading to the Cleveland Browns. So just a couple things to put into context real quick. Deshaun Watson has missed a total of 22 of 34 games. So he's played 12 games. 12 games. That's it, out of 34. The Browns paid Watson $230 million in fully guaranteed money, and Watson carries a $63.977 million cap hit over the next 3 years. Cleveland can't even move out of that deal until 2027, as the Browns would have to pay $136.9 million in cap penalty in 2024, or $73 million in cap penalty in 2025 by releasing him. So he's stuck. They are stuck with him at this point. Looking back at the actual what the trade package was, it was Deshaun Watson. Houston Texans ended up getting a first round picks in 2022, 23, 24, along with a 2023 third round pick, fourth round pick, and the Texans also sent the Browns a 2024 fifth round pick. So in this next draft, what those players actually turned into through trades and moving stuff around, these picks did not just stay. We're talking about they have a pick, right? So their original pick was pick 13. Well, they ended up moving that pick around because the Eagles wanted to move up. So they ended up getting the 124th, 163rd, 166 overall selections in that draft originally. So what these players ended up turning into with this draft was Keon Green, their starting offensive guard, John Mechie, Christian Harris, a linebacker, Damian Pierce, Thomas Booker, Will Anderson, Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, another first round pick that they have, obviously just recently traded that away to the Vikings. So getting more draft capital from this trade alone, and a third round pick as well. So, I mean, is this the worst trade in NFL history? Top 5, top 10? Worse in the past 5-6 years? I mean, where would you rank this in terms of how bad this trade ended up working out for the Browns?
I'm not going to pretend that I was watching the NFL back in the day, so I'm going to go ahead and let the whole Herschel Walker to the Vikings trade that was been lauded as the worst trade in NFL history. I'm gonna drop that down the list because I don't know anything about that. But this is the second worst trade in NFL history, and the first one happened after this.
Is it Russell Wilson?
It is, man. It is because
yeah.
The Seahawks got Devon Witherspoon and Mafe and one other player, and Deshaun Watson is still serviceable. He's going to have a bounce back season this year. It can't nearly be as bad as last year. Russell Wilson got cut. Like, they paid that dude $89 million to go away. Like, Deshaun is still on the team. You know what I mean? He still has a shot at this. So, but second worst trade in NFL history. And there's been some doozies. The Cowboys have made a couple trades a couple times that were pretty bad. The 49ers traded away 3 first-round draft picks for Trey Lance. It's not actually true because they selected him with 1, but whatever. That's what everyone always reports. So, and just to be clear, we'll put this out there. One of those first-round picks that the 49ers traded away for Trey Lance became Micah Parsons. So, yikes. And now they're teammates. Yee! For another year or 2 until Micah leaves.
All right, bro.
Put that out in the universe.
All right, Drew. Are you ready?
Before we start this, can I ask you a question?
Uh-oh. Okay, let's go.
Can you get into the top 10 of this draft with a first-round pick in the teens and a first-round pick in the 20s?
Get in the top 10?
Yes. Let me ask you this. If the 49ers traded Brandon Ayuk away for the 15th or 14th pick and then took their 31st pick and offered it to Chicago for their number 9 to take Adunze, could they get that done? Would the Bears take 16, 31, and a comp 4th for number 9? Is that enough?
If it's the Bears, I think so. I think the Bears would, because there's talent. If you're looking for, whether it's edge rusher, defensive line, cornerback, wide receiver, there's that talent at 20 and 31. It's there. Obviously, we're not talking about the level of Rome Odunze or maybe Byron Murphy's gone at that point, but you're still talking about quality guys who are going to be there, and now you can get 2 of them instead of just 1 of them. So I think so. I think it might be enough.
All right. Mock Draft 3.0. Come on down.
Come on down is right. So, Drew, I text you. You are going to handle the even numbers, and I will handle the odd numbers. So, how I want this to end up happening is, yes, we are going to do trades. Drew, if there is a trade that you want to call for, whether you want the 3rd pick, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 11th, if you want one of those picks and you want to move up, tell me before I start to make a selection. I will do the same thing to you. If you want to trade out of your position, one of your picks, let me know. I might have a proposition. And now the other part of this as well is if you, let's say, you have the 4th overall, right? So if you have the 4th overall and you have the 12th, the 14th, whatever, and you want to trade up with that 14th or 16th or 18th pick, you can trade up because that is also your pick as well. So that's how the trades are going to work. If you want to make a trade with one of my picks, you got to call me. If I want one of your picks, I got to call you, vice versa. Okay. So I will handle the odd numbers. Drew, before we start, do we have any objections or clarifying questions before we jump right into this mock draft?
It sounds, based off of the rundown that you just gave me, that you've done about 10 hours more of research on this than I did.
Okay.
So I'm very excited.
So first overall, we're going to go ahead and trade out of this. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go with Caleb Williams. Again, Chicago fans rejoice. You can be sad at the moment for Justin Fields if you're a Justin Fields fan, but end up rejoicing for Caleb Williams. Cheer for the people that are on your team. Come on down. Now, second on the clock, we have the Washington Commanders football team, Redskins. Who are we going with here?
Jayden Daniels.
Jayden Daniels, LSU. Drew's been on this train. He's been on this horse. He's riding it into the sunset. I don't know how much I buy into this one, but Drew, you're really onto it. What's really pushing you for this Jayden Daniels second overall?
Their offensive coordinator. That's what it is, and I know you hate him.
I do. I do.
And all the research and all the noise and everything I've heard. I believe in this so much. I have money on this. I've bet on this.
I have the 3rd overall pick. The Patriots are only going to select a quarterback if they are in love with them. Patriots are pretty tight-lipped right now. There's not a lot of leaks that are coming out at the moment, so it's hard to really tell. At the moment, I'm going to say that they are not in love with the quarterback at the moment, and that they want to build on what they have right now, and they're going to go ahead and take Marvin Harrison Jr. with that 3rd overall pick. Now, you do have the 4th overall pick. Drew, I want to make a phone call to you. We do have... I have the odd numbers. So I do have picks 11. And I do have pick 23 with the Minnesota Vikings. And Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't on the board anymore. So I would like to make a proposition to you. You still make the selection at 4th, but I would like to trade Minnesota Vikings to the Arizona Cardinals. Do you want to make this trade, or you want to sit and make the selection here?
So here's my thing with this, man. The Minnesota Vikings are going to take J.J. McCarthy. That is who they've done their research on.
Yep.
You're going to go to number 4 to take J.J.?
It's a good question.
Because now Drake May is sitting there, which I don't agree with, by the way. We've gone off the rails already. But I guess this is good because now I don't have to call you about the Minnesota Vikings trading up to number 5 with the Chargers to get J.J. McCarthy. So I'm glad we're both on board with the Minnesota Vikings jumping into the top of this round to take their quarterback. However, as the Arizona Cardinals go, broken that Marvin Harrison just slipped through their fingers. I would be willing to accept a trade back to no longer pick in this spot because Marvin Harrison Jr. was a big answer here. And there's no surefire guy right here that makes sense for the Cardinals where they sit. Unless they're doing a draft day trade of Kyler Murray.
Yeah. So here's what the trade compensation, obviously this is going to be super exact. This is what the trade compensation is going to be for me. We're going to go 11 and 23. Those picks are non-negotiable. They have to be in this trade regardless. You can't do the 11 and a first next year and first year after that. No. 11 and 23 have to be in this trade regardless. So 11 and 23 to the Arizona Cardinals, obviously for pick 4. And I'm going to throw in... I would like to throw in a second for 2025, but they don't have that second. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw in a 3rd, and I'm going to do a late round swap with them. So 177 for 186 in this draft, a 3rd next year, and the 2 first-round picks this year for the 4th overall.
We're obviously questioning if 16 and 31 can get us to 9. So questioning whether 11 and 23 can get us to 4. I honestly don't think it does. I think to make this trade, you're looking at 11, 23 and their 2025 one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of love that all for if you can get 11, 23 and 1 for the Cardinals to move down to 11, honestly, if you're the Cardinals here, who are you taking? You're going to take Neighbors, maybe. You're going to take Odunze, maybe, or you're going to take the tackle. You can get the tackle at 11. So if that's where you're headed, brilliant. So good job to me for accepting the trade.
So we do have the 4th overall pick. Drew, this is still yours. So we are going with J.J. McCarthy in this spot.
Well, you're making the trade, my man. So if you're making the trade, I think you should make the pick, to be honest with you. Who are you trading up for? It's not Drake May because they're not scouting this to think Drake May's there. So it has to be J.J., right?
Yes, and with them going with private workouts with J.J. McCarthy very recently, he's like one of the only quarterbacks it's the only quarterback that they've had a private workout with. They're going specifically with J.J. McCarthy in this one. Now, do I agree with this? I do not. This is not what I would do. This is just kind of like a predictive thing that can happen. We do have 2 other mock drafts up on the channel. Go check those out. Plugging it in. Mock Draft 2.0, Mock Draft 1.0. One of them's Drew's, one of them's mine. Go check them out. You're not missing.
One of them's
you're missing
better.
out. So we have the 5th overall in this spot right here. We do have Malik Neighbors here. We have Rome Odunze. We have a tackle. I honestly think this could be a prime trade out spot. Because there is still a quarterback sitting here. And I think that the New York Giants are going to get a little antsy here, and they might want to take a Drake May if he falls. So I think there might be a team that might want to move up. And if we're talking about a team that might want to move up, there's really only one.
Oh, you want me to pick up the phone and dial, huh? At number 12, you want the Denver Broncos to call and see if they want the pick.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Broncos are on the phone. Bring, 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 bring. I think you're absolutely correct. I don't think this breaks down this way. I think the Patriots are 100% taking quarterback. But if it does, and the Broncos are going to be trying to do what they can do to leapfrog the Minnesota Vikings, I just hope for these teams' sake that they've done their due diligence on all these quarterbacks, because that's the thing with definitely. That's the thing with the Vikings is you're sitting there, you now have this ability to trade up, but Drake May's sitting there. Don't freak the hell out. You did your draft work. You know who you want.
Yeah.
Take who you want. So the Broncos get on the phone with the Los Angeles Chargers, and they offer
I have the 12th. I have a first round next year, and we can go hypothetical with a year after that as well, because they are moving up quite a few spots. But I am looking to maybe go in a different direction, because the Chargers do need a wide receiver. And I'm not sure how much Sean Payton really feels like. It doesn't feel like he's a huge fan of certain wide receiver that he has who's very young on his team.
Oh, don't say him. Don't say it.
Marvin Mims.
Oh, no. The 12th and Marvin Mims? Wow. I would do that in a fucking freaking instant if I was the Chargers, the 12th and Marvin Mims. You still get your tackle. Everybody thinks they're taking Joe Alt anyway.
So you still get, I have 2 first-round picks, Marvin Mims, and obviously the Broncos are moving up for
Justin Herbert and Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims goes from Russell Wilson to Justin Herbert? Oh my gosh, he's going to be a superstar X Factor next year.
So looking at it, 5th overall, still an odd number, still my pick, and obviously we're not trading up for anything else but a quarterback. Drake May is where we're going. Just at the first 5 picks, man, we got a bunch of trades in here. We got some oddball things. Okay, it's
at least
unique.
You fixed it. At least you fixed it. Like, this is probably what the top 5 is going to look like anyway. So we're good here. We're cool. We're cool.
All right, we have the Giants on the clock. What are we doing here?
They're taking Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
That's been who's been mocked to them by everybody everywhere. Freaking 1,500 yards last year, 14 touchdowns, almost 100 receptions. Like, the dude's a beast. I'm going to be honest with everybody. I'm a bigger fan of Odunze, but I'm not an NFL draft scout. I'm just a podcaster.
Let's go. We're Odunze wide receiver 2 on the podcast, unanimous.
I'm just saying.
Let's go. I think there is a conversation for Odunze here. The interviews with the New York Giants at the Combine went very well. With Odunze, everything went out very positive. Both sides seem to love each other a lot. And I think Odunze gives a little bit of a different flavor to that wide receiver core that has Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson. So I think there's a conversation there. I also think there's a conversation for Odunze here at 7. But I'm still going to go ahead and I'm going to go Joe Alt.
Whoa.
Odunze's right there. He's really, really close. You have the wide receivers on the roster, Calvin Ridley. I know DeAndre Hopkins is going to be up for contract, I believe, next year. You have the guys on the roster. Maybe Treylon Burks turns into a big slot guy. Maybe he can finally work out. Trading away A.J. Brown to draft A.J. Brown obviously makes a lot of sense. Drew's favorite move, obviously. But we're kicking the can down the road. We're making our left side
except for when it's
solidified.
Treylon Burks.
Now we do have the 8th pick on the board.
I have a question.
Okay.
If this draft falls the way that I'm predicting it to draft currently,
okay,
which is 1, 2, 3, 4, all quarterbacks, and the Chargers are sitting there at number 5, and they can take Marvin Harrison. Or they can trade back to 12 and get Mims and the 12th pick. You get the tackle and Mims. Would you take the tackle and Mims, or would you take Marvin Harrison Jr.?
No one's guaranteed.
But is Mims guaranteed?
You've seen him play, and I think there's promise there. I don't think he was played as much as he should have been. I think that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and the more shots you take, the more chance you have it for hit. Trade back, take the first round picks, take Mims. So obviously you get a tackle, you get Mims, you get another first in the future. I think that's where I'd go. That's really close. It's hard. I think that might be where I go, though.
That being said, I'm going to go chalk here. Everybody's mocking him here. Jacob disagrees. That's fine. Number 8, Dallas Turner, Atlanta Falcon.
You know, it's the player that I disagree with. The position, not so much. I think that defensive line is in need of a lot of help with some aging guys on it. Even like Grady Jarrett, he's starting to age a little bit. You do have a couple guys there, but they don't perform as much as you want to. Arnold Ebiketie hasn't turned into the guy that you want to. So I think Dallas Turner is a good scheme fit as well, especially with the new head coach there, right? Big defensive guy. 9th overall. I don't think I want to trade out of this one. We're going to go ahead and stick. Now, do I want to stick and pick? Do I want to go wide receiver? We have Rome Odunze here.
Okay. Just because you're not going to trade. Do the Bears pick up the phone for the 31st overall pick and Brandon Ayuk here?
And Brandon Ayuk?
Yep.
No.
There's probably some value to make it match, like a 4th or something from the Bears, but
I think the fact that you have to pay Brandon Ayuk is going to diminish it a little bit, but you do have that luxury because you do have that luxury because you aren't paying a quarterback. So it's a little dicey, you know. At that point, you're pretty much telling Keenan Allen you're on a 1 year and that's it, you know, because you have DJ Moore locked up for a little while. You're pretty much telling Keenan Allen it's only you're gonna be on the team, which kind of feels like a waste a little bit. I wouldn't.
Okay. I mean, it only is even a question if Odunze is still on the board here or Neighbors is still on the board. I'm not trading up for anyone else, but
yeah.
So what are the Bears doing, man?
We're going with Rome Odunze. I just brought it up. Keenan Allen is last year of his deal. Rome Odunze is a technician. If you think about Laiatu Latu as an edge rusher and how he's a technician, Rome Odunze is a Laiatu Latu of wide receivers. Super technically sound, great feet, great route running. His long release is fantastic. Not a lot of wasted steps. Big fan of Odunze. We're a Odunze number 2, wide receiver 2 on this podcast, which I didn't know. We're gonna do obviously wide receiver rankings in the future. So this little sneak peek was fun. Man, you got the New York Jets here, dude.
Yeah, so who's your offensive tackle number 2 here? Do you got Fuagwa? What do you say for me?
Okay, so this is weird. So I've always said Fuaga, but it's actually Fuanga.
That's what. Okay, Fuaga. Okay.
Yes, it's Fuanga.
Or
super
do you
strange.
Have what's his name?
Fashanu.
Yeah, Fashanu. Thank you. Jesus. I think I'm taking Fashanu.
Can I be honest? Just be right before you take this.
Yeah, don't say JC Latham or something.
No, I don't have a tackle plan. I don't have a tackle.
You don't for the Jets?
No.
What the? Who are the Jets taking?
I think that with your Super Bowl window super limited,
they don't have a Super Bowl window, bro. Come on.
They think they do.
Their quarterback's decrepit.
Doesn't matter. They think they do. You go out and you go get tackles, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Tackles. You have your right tackle and your left tackle. You have Elijah Vera Tucker, and you brought in another guard. I forget who it is. You think you bolstered up your line enough, and you want to go get a playmaker? Those top 3 wide receivers are off the board.
You want them to take Brock Bowers?
I'm thinking Brock Bowers. Now, again, this is where you're at. So
I
if
have
we're
a
going
question.
Fashanu,
I'm definitely going tackle here, but my question is how can they make a run to the Super Bowl if Aaron Rodgers is making a run to the White House?
oh no. Great point, but apparently there's already been a running mate chosen outside of Aaron Rodgers. So ruins are fun. It was a good run while it lasted. I know.
All right. Well, out of Penn State at offensive tackle, Fashanu, come on down.
Olu Fashanu. All right. So I do have the Cardinals here. This is too early for a wide receiver, in my opinion. So we're not going to go in that area, even though you do need the help. We need defensive line help. And I'm going to go and take a Byron Murphy here for the Arizona Cardinals.
That's so early.
It is a little early. I'm a big fan of Byron Murphy. I'm not the biggest Jer'Zhan Newton guy. I have him drop down a couple of spots more than a lot of other people.
What about Quinion Mitchell?
You can, but I think that defensive line needs a little bit more help. And I don't think that Byron Murphy's, he's not a one tech. Like, you're talking about a guy who's a 3 tech and he can play end. Like, you're talking about one of those guys. You know, God, I hate to say it, but like one of those guys who like an Aaron Donald, where he plays a multifaceted of positions. Not saying he's Aaron Donald, just saying he plays a bunch of different positions on that defensive line. Byron Murphy brings that same type of flavor now to the Arizona Cardinals, who desperately need some help on that defensive line. You have the Chargers at pick 12. What are we doing here?
The phone is ringing.
Oh, okay. The phone's ringing.
The Eagles are on the line.
Okay. The
Eagles are going to give up 22.
Where is the Eagles? Oh, right there. I should just look for the trash can. So 22.
And 53.
Okay, 53 this year's. Okay.
And they're going to move up. And they're going to take the other offensive tackle.
Okay, so we have 22, 53 moving up with the Los Angeles Chargers, who are moving back once again. We're going to go ahead and force this. And we're taking an offensive tackle. We're taking Fwanga.
Yep. And can you bring up the Chargers real quick now? And let's just see what we've done here and what we've gotten them. Because trust me, it's tempting to take Brock Bowers there, but I'm just going to stick with... So the Chargers traded out of 5 and they picked up...
Yeah, so they ended up picking up Marvin Mims. They ended up getting a first, which, again, they ended up trading back again. So it ends up turning into the 26th pick in the draft. They get next year's first from the Denver Broncos, and they also get a 3rd-round pick, pick 53, or no, 2nd-round pick, right? Yeah, so they get a 2nd-round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles in these trades, again, plus that Marvin Mims as well. So,
and I know we won't get too deep into this, but I can tell you who they're taking with 53.
Okay. Is it a running back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think there's a 4th or a 5th that come with this also. 22 and 53 is not just enough. Maybe even a player.
Yeah.
But I think that Fuaga is a good fit for a team like the Eagles that need offensive line help, and Howie Roseman is crazy. And I love the idea of this. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
And if you do something sane here, I'm going to slap you because we all know something crazy is coming here.
Okay. So we have the Raiders. 2 things that we need a lot of. We need offensive line help, and we need corner help. We have those 2 things that we need.
That makes too much
Bowers
sense.
Slip is going to continue. There's 2
If they're
guys.
Taking a corner, they're taking Cooper DeJean, bro. They're going to do it. They're going to make him the first corner off the market.
I could do something a little bit ridiculous. Okay. What do the Raiders love? They
Speed.
Love athletic guys, or on the offensive line, they love just big maulers, right? Guys who maybe are a little unproven, but they're maulers. So you have 2 options here at this position. You have Quinion Mitchell, who is my corner 1. Sorry, corner 2. Excuse me. No disrespect to Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid's my 1. And the other guy that you have a lot of consideration for is J.C. Latham. Those are your two considerations here. But I think they need a lot of help at that cornerback position, but not as much as that offensive tackle position. J.C. Latham, I think, is more of a guard than a tackle. You sit him at guard, at tackle now until he fails. When he fails, move him into guard, no problem. I think he's a little bit too big. I'm not sure about the arm length really to play that tackle position. J.C. Latham out of Alabama. The Raiders do love their Alabama players as well. Shout out Henry Ruggs. Anyways,
hopefully this guy buys like a truck or something. Pick 14.
Pick 14.
What's so funny?
The New Orleans Saints. Nothing. You're good. Yeah, you're fine, bro.
Brock
what
Bowers.
Are we doing here with the to the Saints? Okay.
Didn't we mock that already?
Slated. To the Saints?
I think I did that in my first mock.
Oh, maybe you might have. So look, maybe I should go back and watch Mock Draft 1.0 like the rest of everybody else.
I'm
Brock
just saying,
Bowers
bro,
to the New Orleans Saints, an offense that needs a ton of help. If
you're running it back with Garrett Carr, the offense needs a ton of help. You just said that, didn't you? That's weird.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The Colts need corner help.
You wanted to take
defensive line. They needed a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're crying too much over it. I think there's still other guys who are out there. Jatavian Sanders later on. You have that kid, Penn State. Maybe he's not Penn State. I'm maybe misremembering. He's like Theo something. Super athletic tight end. Blew up the combine. So he might be in play in later rounds. So I think that you can find that hole
the
being
corner
filled
disrespect
at a later
in
point.
This mock draft is terrible.
Yeah, a little bit. So what we're going to go ahead and we're going to do is we're going to take one of them right now. And I'm going to go and take Quinyon Mitchell again, my corner 2, sit on an island. You brought back Kenny Moore, so you have your slot solidified. You have an outside guy now. You got to keep building, though, on top of that to get where you want to. Your favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks, at pick 16. What are we doing here?
My favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks, are going to go edge, Jared Verse.
Okay.
And they're going to forego the idea of signing Jadeveon Clowney.
Good point. I do have the Jaguars on the clock here, and I have a question. How long do the Jaguars stick with a guy like Cam Robinson? Big cap hit, average player. And my answer to that is maybe not that long, because I'm going to stop the slide of a player that I like a lot. Troy Fontenot. We're going to go tackle at that Jaguars position. He's a tackle. Yes, a lot of people have him slated guard. Look at the arm length, bro. The arm length is nasty. It's insanity. Okay? Huge, huge, huge arms. Low-hanging fruit guy. Excuse me while my dog goes ahead and she unplugs my headphones, so I can't hear anything that's going on. So Troy Fontenot to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Cowboys suck.
On the clock next is the Cincinnati Bengals. And they're probably not too happy as tight ends off the board. A lot of the top tackles are off the board. Top defensive interior guys off the board. Where are we going with the Cincinnati Bengals?
I think that I wanted the Cincinnati Bengals to draft Brock Bowers, but I took him already. Damn it. The Bengals got to go tackle, right? I mean, who's kidding who? They need some help for Joey B over there. So let's go ahead and throw down Amarius Mims for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Man, he goes earlier and earlier in mocks, and it just sucks so much because I really want Amarius Mims to the Cowboys. He's one of my favorite players. Mock Draft 2.0, go watch it. That's where I got his mock too. If you're a Cowboys fan, you'll like it. I promise. Go watch the film. But to the Bengals, you'll like them too. Go watch that film. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Bengals fans showing out for the free agent video and then giving us all the love in the comment section. You guys love that video. Obviously, it doesn't have a bunch of dislikes on it. You guys showed out. Now we have the LA Rams on the clock
Zach
here.
Moss.
Yeah, shout out Zach Moss.
We have the Rams
here. And we're going to go to the cornerback position. We have a little bit of a run here. Terrion Arnold to the LA Rams is we're going to go. You have pick 20 here. Huh?
Really?
Arnold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Over DeJean? Is that why you're confused?
No, can you scroll back up? I need to see where we're at here.
So you're at pick 20. Real quick, before you make this pick, the phone's ringing.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
I think it's pick. Who's on the phone? Oh, it's the San Francisco 49ers are on the phone right now. Drew, do you want to go ahead and pick the phone up and listen to the offer they're offering?
I'm intrigued.
So, the Niners, where are we at? Oh, look, I just had to look for the trash can again. No, we're not trading a pick. We're not moving up. We're going to keep that pick 31. We're going to keep it right there, solidified. We're going to throw Brandon Ayuk in there. You and I talked about this a little bit, right? Brandon Ayuk. Oh, no, I know, right? We have the 20th pick in the draft, and let's go ahead and throw in a third as well. Now, Drew, as a Niners fan, and you saw what the offer was, are we going down and are we throwing in a Calvin Austin into this too? Is that what we're throwing into it? Or are we just doing a first and a third, and maybe a late pick swap, or are we going with a guy like that?
If this is the offer on the table, I think the Niners would take it. You know what's crazy?
First and a third.
You know, they had the 10th overall pick from the Jets a couple years back for Deebo Samuel. They didn't take it. Now you're taking a 20th for Brandon Ayuk.
Yep. So,
okay.
What do you say, Drew?
Done deal.
Brandon Ayuk, 20th. Let's do it.
Now, since you made the trade, let's hear the pick.
So the San Francisco 49ers, where do they need help? Offensive line, obviously, but I think you can get some of these guys down closer to that 31 pick. So I'm not super intrigued by that. You do need a lot of corner help, though, and you need a lot of edge rush help. So there's two guys that are really weighing on my mind at the moment. It's Mr. Cooper DeJean and it's Laiatu Latu. Those are the two guys that are weighing on my mind heavily. And I have Laiatu Latu as my edge one, and this is where I'm going. Laiatu Latu, edge rusher, UCLA. You're staying in California, kid. It's moving costs, cheap moving costs. Let's get you up to Santa Clara, and let's get you in a Niners jersey. That's where we're going. All right, Drew, how do you feel about having Laiatu Latu on your team? Is there a place that you would rather have gone in that situation?
I mean, you gotta figure out a plan to replace Brandon Ayuk's production, and I'm not sure if we solved it here. So if I'm a 49er fan, I'm probably staring at the TV thinking, what the fuck are we doing? Because we just signed what's his face, the edge rusher with 10 plus sacks last year, Leonard, and now we have no number one wide receiver on the team. So definitely an interesting situation there.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I know we don't make a whole lot of, you don't trade away a player to try to draft a player, and that's what I'm avoiding in that situation there.
It's a weird place for wide receiver also.
Yeah, it is. You kind of have a no man's land. I think the next earliest wide receiver can go as early as like 15, 14. but then the next it can go as late as what? The next wide receiver can go as late as 23, 24, depending on how it goes, 25, 26. I mean,
could the 49ers do this pre-draft starting and take 31 and 20 and get into the top 10? Would the Chicago Bears take 31 and 20 for 9?
If it's the Chicago Bears, then yes.
All right.
I think if you look at some of the other teams, I'm not sure. Miami is an odd number team, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this one up. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. You lost Christian Wilkins, and I know you want to replace him. So we're going to go ahead and replace him with Jazon Newton, interior defensive lineman. Immediately fill that spot. Now we're at pick 22, an even number, right back with the Chargers once again.
You're much higher on this guy than I am, so you've already selected him, but I think, I'm talking on the Dolphins pick, but I think that they would do jumping jacks for Byron Murphy right there.
Yeah, so, if they could get him, absolutely.
Same thought process.
Yeah, definitely.
So we got the Chargers, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And what do the Chargers need? The Chargers need a little a little offensive tackle action. They need a little cornerback action.
Yep.
They need a little wide receiver action.
For sure. Absolutely.
I think they're going tackle.
Okay.
I think they're going tackle because the whole point of trading out of 5 was that they could pick up the wide receiver and they could get the tackle. So now you've traded out of 5. You picked up the wide receiver. Now you're getting the tackle anyway, and you picked up all those picks, and I am a big Tyler Guyton fan. So Tyler Guyton, come on down.
Let's do it. All right. Tyler Guyton. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock here. Cardinals have another pick, right? 27. Yep, okay. Arizona Cardinals are, I get both those picks. Arizona Cardinals, are on the clock, and they still need a wide receiver, and this is where I'm going with LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. Get some speed on the outside for Kyler Murray.
High.
It is a little high, depending on who you're talking to. Again, some of these, I hear some guys saying Brian Thomas is a third-tier wide receiver in this class. Brian Thomas is a first-tier wide receiver in the class. He belongs with those top 3 guys. I hear both sides. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think he's a second-tier guy, a guy who's a 2, who you're going to get a ton of upside from and a bunch of Pro Bowl years sprinkled into his career as well. So Brian Thomas to the Arizona Cardinals. You have even, so you get the Dallas Cowboys pick. It's funny because I get the Niners picks. You get the Cowboys picks.
Just to throw this out there, I don't think that if you were to bet me that Brian Thomas goes higher than that, it wouldn't surprise me because it's such a long run from potential, 3 wide receivers going in the top 8 or 9 and then a break. I just think based off of what I've watched of him, it's a little high. But I also think you just selected him right there, so I couldn't have the Cowboys take him because I know you're kind of not great about that. And since you're not great about that, I'm going to go ahead and slot you in with the do-it-all guy on the offensive line, and we're going to go with Graham Barton.
As a tackle, I don't like Graham Barton. If you slot this man into a center spot, I'm much more willing to do this. I know guys are really high on Graham Barton. I actually just went back and watched his film, and people in the comment section were like super in love. Oh, he doesn't get beat a lot. And it's like, I'm not looking at whether this guy gets beat a lot. Where's his hand placement? How are his feet? He does a lot of heel clicking when he tries to reset when he's getting pushed on power. Offensive tackles do this like jump reset. We'll do a little jump backwards and they'll plant their feet and they'll kind of arch up a little bit. His is horrible. He has like no power on his front side and his legs. He has none. As a center, I'm a little bit more willing to do it. As a tackle, I'm not about this pick too much. So
can I tell you something though?
Where he's been playing.
The fact that you hate it so much makes it even more likely to happen. Because when was the last time you liked the Cowboys' first-round pick? And don't be talking no Micah Parsons, because I know you did not like that Micah Parsons pick.
I did not. I did not like the Micah Parsons pick.
I mean, you were right about last year. I don't even remember the guy's name.
Mozzie Smith, yep.
Yeah, Mozzie.
Yep.
We're going to go all in this year.
So, yeah.
Isn't this an interesting pick?
the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, do I just want to go with the thing that everybody does at this point?
I mean,
everybody goes with it. I'm going. Damn. Yeah, I'm going Cooper DeJean. You need help on that cornerback position. That cornerback room is not good outside of Jair Alexander. Even the guys that they have there, they're super unhealthy. And you need help at safety.
Yeah,
you can only play one position.
You just filled the spot. I would have gone Tyler Nubin.
Okay, yeah. So Cooper DeJean, same idea. You get a guy who can play safety, play slide, play outside. Very athletic guy. A little stiff in the hips, but I think he can get a little bit more fluid, a little bit more experience under his belt. We do have pick 26 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With Tampa Bay, where are we going?
Bring up edge, bring up defensive line. That's where they need to go. I think they would love to get Jared Verse here. Unfortunately, in this La La Land, he's already gone. And I think they would love Latu here, but he's a 49er now. So I'm going to go ahead and slot in Braden Fisk for them. And that's where they're at. Frankly, they could go corner here. I think Graham Barton has been mocked to them a lot because they need help all over the offensive line. So there's a lot of things that they can do here, but this is where they go for me with this pick.
Absolutely. I'm a huge Braden Fisk guy. I really like the tape. I'll tell you this much. I'm not a huge combine person. The combine should solidify things. You don't multiply something. If you know a guy is fast, you don't multiply that speed and move him up the board. You know he's fast. You know what he can do. You don't move him up. Braden Fisk, I saw the combine stuff before the tape. When I got to the tape, I really enjoyed it. Super athletic guy. He's in 99th percentile with a bunch of his drills, but huge guy here. 27th. Man, 3 first-round picks is a lot for a team to have, and they're not going to have 3 of them. The phone is ringing currently, and what's kind of cool about this is the phone that's ringing, nobody has the pick. We're going to go over to the trade. We're going to go over to the New England Patriots. We're going to go pick 34. We're going to go to a later round pick. We're going to go pick 80, and we're going to pick 27. Could be more than this to jump up, but we're talking about a high second round pick 3. And they're going to go ahead and move up in this draft. Okay, so again, we have New England Patriots.
Are you going to take Bo Nix?
I am not going to take Bo Nix.
Okay.
But I am going to take a quarterback. I'm taking Michael Penix Jr.
Oh my God.
In this spot. The reason I'm trading up is you want that 5th-year option for a quarterback. I think we see at the tail end of this draft, a team is going to trade up for a Michael Penix or
They got
Bo
Michael
Nix.
Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh my God, you're a little bastard. You did a ton of research on this. That's really good. I disagree 100%, but I think if you told the Patriots, hey, listen, you can take Jaden Daniels or you can take Drake May or you can get Michael Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they might just say 2020 podcast, come run our draft for us.
Yeah, we're gonna get a phone call here from Gerard Mayo pretty soon. Shout out Gerard. He's a huge fan of the podcast. Please,
unfortunately, they're not actually going to pay us. They're just going to give us a lifetime supply of mac and cheese.
Yeah. With Mac Jones' face on it. Said, yeah, this is the surplus we had to get rid of. So
no, it's not his face on the box. It's literally the noodles or Mac Jones' face.
All right. So we have pick 28, even number. This is all you. The Buffalo Bills with their cap situation. They had to cut a bunch of guys on defense. They could use some guys on offense.
Yep.
Where are we going with this?
You know, the Buffalo Bills right now, they have a need. They have a need for speed.
Let's go.
Straight out of Texas. And they are going to select one Xavier Worthy. 1st round pick flying up the board. I think the Bills would have loved Brian Thomas here, but he is gone. So Xavier Worthy, come on down.
Yes, sir. So, got
God, look at the fall for Nate Wiggins. What the hell is going on?
There's a lot of concern about Nate Wiggins' health and his weight, and I'm going to continue to let that slide. I'm not going that right here. This doesn't feel like a Dan Campbell guy. I think there's a couple guys, corners in the draft, who feel like Dan Campbell guys. Maybe like a Mike Sanderstill. I really like him, slot corner. Ooh, Kamari feels like him. Ennis feels like him a little bit. Jaron Jones feels like a Lion a little bit, but not a Nate Wiggins. The place I want to go to is my wide receiver 4. We have Texas guys going back to back. AD Mitchell to the Detroit Lions is where I want to go. You have pick 30?
I do.
Baltimore Ravens.
Do you know where I'm going?
No, I don't think so.
I'm going a place that I think will make this player just shoot to the moon, man. And he's Penn State currently, and you don't get a better sack name than Chop. And we're going to go ahead and select Chop Robinson, and he's going to slide right in there to that Baltimore Ravens defense, and he's going to start wreaking some havoc.
Man, I know that we haven't gone wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to continue to let that slide a little bit further, unfortunately, just because how the board fell. You know, if we had Mr. AD Mitchell fall here, easy. I would slot him into the Niners spot. Easy if AD Mitchell fell into the Niners lap. And obviously, Brandon Ayuk is gone. But I think that you might want to take a little bit of a look at a center spot. You need offensive line help. I know previously you went Zach Frazier, but if you went with a center that's higher up on the board, JPJ going to the San Francisco 49ers. So in this draft, you get JPJ and you get Laiatu Latu. And next up, and the final pick in this draft, Kansas City Chiefs. Where are we going?
Well, the Chiefs are going to wait a little longer to pull the trigger on this, but as they're surveilling the defensive backs that are somehow still available here, some really quality ones have fallen at corner. They're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. Go ahead and bring up those corners. And my guy, who I've already talked about with the Jones fracture here, they're going to go ahead and pull the trigger on trading away L'Jarius Sneed, and they're going to fill it with a star corner from Alabama. And I think you're going to get the Jalen Carter type. How the hell did this player fall to the Kansas City Chiefs? And Kool-Aid McKinstry, come on down.
So just to recap for the people that are
Where's
audio
the grade?
Only.
Do you not pay for the premium?
No, I do. If you go through a full mock, I've never gotten a grade doing all teams.
Okay.
If I go through individuals, I get the grade. Like if I go through the Cowboys or the Patriots or whatever, I get the full grade. But full mocks, I don't. It's weird. Audio only. First overall pick, Caleb Williams. We have Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., J.J. McCarthy to the Minnesota Vikings. We have Drake May to the Broncos, Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, Dallas Turner, Rome Odunze, Olu Fashanu. Now the Cardinals who traded back get Byron Murphy. The Eagles who trade up get Talisi Fuunga, J.C. Latham, Brock Bowers, Quinyon Mitchell, Jared Verse, Troy Fautanu, Amarius Mims, Terrion Arnold. The San Francisco 49ers trade up, and they end up getting Laiatu Latu, still keeping their 31st overall pick. Drazon Newton to the Miami Dolphins. The LA Chargers, this is their pick now. They get Tyler Guyton. Their second pick, the Arizona Cardinals get Brian Thomas Jr. The Cowboys get Graham Barton. Cooper DeJean, Braden Fisk, Michael Penix Jr. to the New England Patriots as they trade up from the second into the first. Xavier Worthy, AD Mitchell, Chop Robinson, JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, and we've rounded out Kool-Aid McKinstry. That is our mock draft 3.0. Go check out our other 2 mock drafts that's pre-free agency, but go check them out. See what our opinions are on a lot of these guys. We're going to have a 4.0 coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to have positional rankings for all draft stuff. So if you enjoy this content, stick around. Now, Drew, any final comments about the mock draft before I shut it off and we move along?
Nope. I was trying to see if I can find an outright winner and loser here on the loser side, and everything seems about right here. And the winners are obviously subjective. So moving on.
Next up, we're moving away from the NFL content. So if you enjoy NBA content, we're here for you. Starting off with the Clippers. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. So talking about the Clippers first, Drew, how far will the Clippers fall by the time the playoffs start? We have a lot of struggles, right? They went on this crazy run, beating the Celtics, going 6-1 on this big road trip. And now they went 8-10 before beating the Trailblazers recently. And now they have the Trailblazers next up as we're recording this once again on Thursday, about 10 o'clock at night now. How far are the Clippers actually going to fall before we get to the final playoff standings?
I think they're going to continue to play 500 basketball. That's kind of who they've been. That's who they are since the All-Star break, and they're going to continue to do that. Luckily for them, they won't fall into the play-in. There's just too much inconsistency between the Dallas Mavericks, the Sacramento Kings. Kings come out last night and they blow the roof off the Raptors, and then they lose tonight to the worst team in basketball, the Washington Wizards.
Just what you were talking about.
Road. Yep, back-to-backs on the road are always tough, but it just is what it is. You have to find a way to win these games. And there's a lot of inconsistency down at the bottom of the standings. The Suns, they have all the talent in the world, but they can't seem to put it together. The Mavericks are, I'm not a big fan of the antics of Luka on the court. I think it's tough basketball to watch. And the Lakers and the Warriors don't have enough to put it together to move up out of the play-in. So I think they're going to rest at about 5 or 6. Which is going to be tough for them because they're going to run into either the Denver Nuggets or the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's just not going to be a good fit for them in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, again, when you look at this, their road trip was very successful, going 6-1. In December, they played really well basketball as well. Kawhi Leonard is in and out of the lineup now with injuries, and even when he's back, he's not playing fantastic basketball. I would like to see a little bit more offensive efficiency from everybody, but especially looking at guys like Kawhi Leonard. Paul George has not played well. We were talking about recently shooting 5 for 13, 6 for 16. Even defensively, which, PG's known as a two-way player, he's not looked good. And then to come out after their loss recently to the, to Atlanta, they were asked about, or excuse me, I think it was the Knicks. Recently, they were asked about just like their team identity and what it is, and he just comes out and he says, I don't think we have one. We're less than 20 games away from the NBA playoffs, and this team, a veteran team that looks slow and old and tired, doesn't have an identity. You're beaten up too, right? Russell Westbrook went out for a little bit in January. You also have Norman Powell. I think that they've significantly missed. But honestly, this Clippers team, I think they're destined to maybe not fall as far as that 6, but if they fall and they switch spots with the Pelicans, they're going to end up playing them. It feels like they're going to be destined to play each other in the playoffs. And if you look at the recent success of the Pelicans playing the Clippers, which we're going to talk about the Pelicans here pretty soon, that doesn't bode well for a Clippers team, which again doesn't have an identity. They're old, they're tired, they're aging stars, and when they're not on, they all aren't on. And you see the shenanigans, bro. Well, you see the shenanigans of James Harden going and passing the ball out to Kawhi, and he goes to shoot it, and James Harden puts his hand up. Bro, like, stop dicking around. Like, I get it, you're the 4th seed, but for what, bro? Like, you've lost 8 of the last You're 8-10 or 9-10, last 19. Like, congratulations, bro. But you think you have the authority to dick around on the basketball court? Like, and he missed. If he makes it, it's whatever. But he missed, and that's why it's on the highlight reels. It's just incredible with a team of these names and how well they played recently. And there's a real shot of some competition in the West with them. Now it just feels like they're the sore thumb kind of sticking out of the top four. Everyone else is competitive there.
I have zero confidence in them moving forward. I don't have any confidence in a bunch of their players in the playoffs, namely James Harden. And so the West is so competitive this year that the Kings have a record right now that has them good for 7th and in the play-in, and would have gotten them the 3rd seed last year, which is what they had. So it's just a very competitive West this yeyear. And they're trending down at the wrong time, which is too bad because the team below them, the Pelicans, are trending up. And it's not a good time for them to not know what they're doing. But frankly, when you're talking about a Russell Westbrook, you're talking about a James Harden, you're talking about a playoff P, you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, who's kind of just I was trying to find a word to describe him. I'm not a fan. I got to be honest with you. I'm not. The way he got himself out of San Antonio and him winning the championship in Toronto and then leaving, and he's been basically a part-time player ever since then. I'm just not a fan of him, his brand, or anything he's ever done since he got to his superstardom status. So I don't even know how you can root for him. Like, as a Clippers fan, I get it. You're going to root for your team, but like, does he ever give 100% full effort? Like, ever since he got injured in San Antonio and his team forced him to, sit an entire season and all that other stuff. I'm not a fan. It's not basketball, man. That's why the league is struggling.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked a lot about the Pelicans, kind of piggybacking with the Clippers, and I think that we should talk about them next. The Pelicans are peaking at the perfect time. Currently, they are sitting at the 5th seed in the Western Conference standing, and they have the longest win streak currently in the NBA. They're tied for the most road wins in the league. And then with less than 20 games remaining in the regular season, the Pelicans are peaking again right now at the perfect time. And the things that are contributing to that is health. They're one of the healthiest teams in the league currently, which is crazy for the Pelicans. We're talking about a team with Zion, with Trey Murphy being injured in the beginning of the season and struggling coming back. And then better play from their top players, right? And talking about Trey Murphy, a guy who missed the first 19 games of the season, and then with a meniscus injuries recovering from it. His shooting coming back was not good, but since the All-Star break, post All-Star break, shooting 41.8% from deep, averaging 22.8 points off the bench in his last 6 games. And New Orleans are 5-1 in those games and are 11-0 in the last 11 games when Trey Murphy makes 4 or more threes. They're playing a point Zion. Trey. Yeah, so point Zion right now is kind of taking over for the Pelicans. He's kind of running the floor, and he's the one who kind of does everything at the moment. Brandon Ingram still has his great mid-range game, but I think with Zion running the floor, it allows everybody to be spaced out a little bit better. When it was Brandon Ingram running it a little bit more than Zion, you ended up having like a little bit more like bunched formations in and on the court. And that's because of his mid-range game. Certain players can't do what they want to do with it more spread out with Zion. It looks a lot better, man. They look really good. So top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency over the last 15 games, and leading the league in defensive rating and steals, and being second in net rating, only behind the Celtics. Team on a tear right now.
Yeah, I'm not a big Zion guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure how his wrecking ball offense is going to translate into the playoffs when the physicality is ramped up. But frankly, when you have CJ McCollum and you have Brandon Ingram and you have Trey and you're just operating at the highest level, we're talking about a team that has beat the Kings 4 times this year. And if you look at the Kings' record in the West, they've beaten everybody. They've beaten the Nuggets. They've beaten the Lakers. They've beaten Minnesota. They've beaten OKC. Everybody in front of them they've beaten except for the Clippers randomly, and they played the Clippers earlier in the year. They've beat all the top teams in the West. They lose to the scrubs except for the Pelicans. The Pelicans have handed them their business 4 times now. And it's hard to beat a good team 4 times in a row. Not that I'm out here, orchestrating the Kings as a great team or anything, but when you can score the way the Kings and the Pelicans have beat them four times, their length, it causes problems. Zion causes problems. Brandon Ingram can go for 35 any given night. CJ McCollum is a microwave. It's just,
and then you have this unsung heroes and guys like Jose Alvarado. Guys like that make a difference. They're big contributors on a team like that.
A massive wild card in the West right now, the Pelicans. It's very exciting actually to have a team like that coming from nowhere.
I mean, the West is almost a bloodbath, right? New faces, new players coming in. Obviously, we have the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, guys who are there. I mean, dude, the Rockets might somehow sneak into the play-in if they play well enough.
After Sengun is a beast.
Well, he's out. Sengun's out. He's out for the season.
Yeah, you're right.
And so what ends up happening is, Ime Udoka ends up tearing down that team to be a defensive team, being one of the best defensive teams in the league after being one of the worst last year. And then now letting Jalen Green actually play to his fullest potential after breaking him down, building him back up, and letting the ball come into his hand. Since being out, he's averaging almost 30 points a game.
For sure.
3-4 assists, couple of rebounds. This team might sneak into the play. And again, that's a new face coming into the West. It's pretty exciting because you look at the East and it's the same old. Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, except the Magic anew, it's the same old, it feels like. So having the West be a little bit shaken up, I think it's exciting basketball. Moving on to, we're going to stay in the West. Actually, I just realized everything is about the West in today's podcast. So
I can hijack it a little bit at the end. Okay. I have a question about the East that we can go back to.
Looking at the Warriors, I just said sneaking in for the Rockets. Currently, the Warriors are slated in to be the 10th seed, and the Lakers are the 9th seed, I believe. It's like they're destined to play each other right now. Are the Warriors going to keep and hold on to that play-in spot? And if they do, can they make any sort of run?
They cannot. They're done.
Yeah.
They're just, they shouldn't have won last year. They shouldn't have gotten out of the first round series. They ran into a De'Aaron Fox breaks his thumb in the first round.
Yeah.
And has to play the last 3 games, and Steph Curry had to go nuclear in Game 7 for them to win. So it just shouldn't have happened. And then the Lakers shut them down, and they haven't been good this year. When they have been, Steph's gone nuclear. He's still that player that can do that from time to time, but he can't do it every single night. He's starting to enter into the LeBron James era of his career, I think, where you can't put everything on his shoulders. Clay's come off the bench. Clay's started. It's weird. Sometimes he goes off. Sometimes he doesn't. Andrew Wiggins has completely disappeared. Jonathan Kuminga is emerging as a star, but he had his drama with Steve Kerr earlier this season. It's just really, I think it's just really a rudderless ship right now. I don't think they have a direction that they want to go with their rotations or their offense. I think every night it's just let's throw it all and see what sticks. Obviously, when you have Steph, you can do stuff like that. They all play off of him. But when the physicality in the playoffs ramps up and there's not another person to take the focus off of Steph, I just, Chris Paul is not, I think we all kind of scratched our heads at that trade at the beginning of the season. Obviously, he missed a lot of time this year. And it's just Kuminga's game. If Kuminga shoots a 3, you're happy. His mid-range game, he's not as efficient at it as a Jason Tatum or DeMar DeRozan, so you're not as afraid of it. And once the basketball just ramps up physicality-wise, I don't know how effective Kuminga is going to be. I don't see them making it out of the play-in. Maybe they can. I definitely don't see them winning a first-round playoff series. The West is just way too competitive right now, obviously all injury concerns aside.
Yeah, I think that when you look at one of the most basic concepts, in the NBA is starting out game strong, establishing your base concepts on both ends of the floor. But the Warriors are a slow start team, and they can't always put it together. And I feel like the Warriors really missed out on their chance with some of the high draft picks that they ended up acquiring and those things not working out for them. They, like the Wiseman draft, that sort of stuff, it did not work out for them. I've never felt, even in some of their championship teams, their bench depth wasn't really that deep. you're really relying a lot on Draymond and Clay and Steph and, Andrew Wiggins in 2022. And, you're relying a lot on those top, and they're such a top heavy team. And I've always felt like that. They were never a super deep team. And I think that they've missed that opportunity with the young players. And I think that's really biting them now in the future when Steph can't take all the load. Clay is on the bench. He's on the bench now. And Draymond shooting very efficient, like 41% from three this season. But his off the court antics are obviously very distracting. But, Dre is still Dre at the end of the day. He's just not he doesn't chuck up as many threes. He's just a little bit more efficient with it. So I think they missed their opportunity to kind of, surround Steph. And I think it's hurting them at this point.
I think it also, it's just weird that they are not a team that gets the high level talent on the cheap. Every year the Lakers reload with players at the trade deadline and things like that. And it's just like, I think that their luxury tax issues and their salary cap issues and how much money they've spent has really kind of bit them in the butt the past 2 years, just because of you look at a player like a Spencer Dinwiddie who was bought out after the trade deadline and he was free to go anywhere. And that's got to be a player that the Warriors got to be able to land. That's got to be a player, you don't expect him to go to the Kings. He's not going to go to Minnesota. He wants to go to LA or San Francisco or, places like that where he wants to live. I get it. But the Warriors weren't even in the running for something like that because of the luxury tax issues. So it's just one of those things. I think that, I think they got to blow it up at the end of the year. I just think it is what it is. Move on from Clay for whatever you can. If you can get a bag of Doritos for him, do it. Chris Paul, you got to move him. Andrew Wiggins, he was so good for them for a couple of years, and now he's just fallen off. Whatever you can do, whatever pieces you can bring back. I know they don't want to do it because they're never going to trade Steph, and Steph's probably not going to force his way out. But you just, LeBron will trade away every single Lakers first-round pick for the next 30 years if he can to try to win the championship the next 2 years because he ain't going to be there, so he doesn't care. Steph isn't going to be there in a couple of years. You have to start thinking about what's coming next and building, and you can't do Wiseman. You can't do Moses Moody. You can't do Jordan Poole. You have to find players that make sense to the next era of what you're going to be.
Absolutely. And staying with the West once again, this one should be pretty quick. The Nuggets have 34 clutch games this year. They one of the teams that end up having the most in the NBA currently. Are they relying a little bit too much on those clutch games? Are they keeping the games a little bit too close? Will it translate well to the playoffs where you have a little bit more highly competitive basketball? Are you concerned about the Nuggets at all with some of the clutch game stuff?
Coming from a Nuggets team that I've watched the Kings beat multiple times this year, I'm not worried about them at all. They won the championship, and now they're kind of just drifting through the regular season in a way that they can. I'm not worried about it. Jamal Murray's awesome. Obviously, we know about Joker, Michael Porter Jr., who fell in the draft because of injury concerns, and that's turned out to be a real thing in his career. But when he's on, he's on. They have a ton of good pieces. They have an awesome head coach. I'm not worried about any of it. And the problem with it is, for other teams in the West, is the inexperience, man. The Kings lost last year because they did not have playoff experience. They weren't ready for it. Domantas Sabonis was getting destroyed with the physicality, and he was unprepared for it. Teams like, this foul grifting, this baiting the ref crap that Shai does. I used to love Shai. He's looking for the foul on every play. It doesn't play in the playoffs. It's not going to work for them. That and to me, that rules OKC out. Karl-Anthony Towns is hurt, and I don't know what his availability looks like and how easy it's going to be for a big man to come back from a meniscus injury. We already talked about the Clippers and their downward trial. We don't know who's going to make it out of the play-in. So realistically, you're talking about the Nuggets and you're talking about the Pelicans. And the Pelicans are doing great, but I wouldn't be worried about the Nuggets getting to the NBA Finals if it was against coming up against the Pelicans. I know the clutch things is weird, but I think it just more speaks to a team that knows they can win and knows they can win when they need to. And it's just one of those things where they kind of are lackadaisical and then they try to turn it on in the fourth. And it's led to some losses this year, but it's also led to some wins.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not super concerned about them either. I want to hear what your opinion before I read off some of the stuff. They're 12th best offense, turns into 10th best. And then their 11th ranked defense turns into the best defense in the league when you get into the clutch time situation. So, and then you need crazy ass shit like a Kyrie Irving 20 feet left-handed skyhook while he's fasting on, Ramadan. So to be able to beat him. So I'm not super concerned about him either. I will be concerned once we get to that, to the finals. So Drew, you said you wanted to hijack something.
Yeah, I just got to ask. I'm a little worried. I'm not worried. I'm questioning the idea of the number 1 seed in the East and that they've basically been on cruise control for the last 20 games or so. They can't be caught. It's nowhere close. None of these games matter to them. They can lose the rest of them. They still have the number 1 seed locked up. How worried are you about the fact that the Celtics are not going to be battle tested going into the NBA playoffs because everything's been so easy for them this year?
I am a little bit worried. The Celtics, it's not just that we've been cruising. The Celtics have always had a problem the past couple of years of finishing out games. And this problem still persists, it doesn't matter. Since Brad Stevens was coaching, this problem has persisted of not closing out. I don't know what the coaches are doing, whether it's Brad or Ime or, Joe or whoever's coaching that season. We're not closing out the games that we should be. We get up very high and then we just, whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. The East doesn't scare me. That's kind of the thing. Once we get to the finals, if we get there, that's what makes me nervous. If we're looking at teams that truly make me nervous in the East, is a couple of guys. The Bucks don't really concern me that much, if I'm being honest, which I know is crazy. They're the second seed. The Cavs are up there in terms of not being concerned. The Magic don't concern me because of the lack of playoff experience. The Knicks do concern me if OG is healthy. They're one of the best teams in the league in all statistical categories. They're like 18, 19, and 2 with OG Anunoby actually playing. Again, they're one of the best teams in the league with him playing. They make me a little nervous. And the goddamn avoid after April king himself, Jimmy Butler, makes me nervous in the playoffs, for obvious reasons. Outside of that, if we can avoid or get past these teams, if Jimmy could just lose in the play-in, I think I'm okay because they're going to be in the play-ins.
Not worried about the Pacers at all?
No, not really.
Okay.
They're a bad defensive team. Tyrese Halliburton is playing hurt, so he can get to his 65 games, so he can qualify for his All-NBA stuff. And he's shooting terrible. 17% from 3 in March is not very good for Tyrese, a guy who was very efficient shooting. Still gets his 12 assists, minimal turnovers, but he's just playing hurt. He's very off balance. And we're talking about a guy who is shooting a very high percentage while off balance, one of the best in the league. And something's off after All-Star break. So I'm not super concerned about it right now. So I am concerned about the cruise control stuff because we have a history of it. Let's just get to the playoffs, man. Is that it, Drew?
I mean, a battle-tested, fighting for everything they got Milwaukee Bucks team coming up against a Boston Celtics team that's been on vacation mode the last 3-4 weeks of the season is definitely interesting. But I think that we could look back at in the offseason this upcoming season, which I'm sure we're going to be diving into the NBA draft and stuff like that, which is going to be exciting because it's 3 international guys for the top 3, not even anyone that's playing in college. Speaking of which, shout out to Oakland for knocking off Kentucky tonight. That's freaking wild. I think Calipari's got to go. But we're going to get some random influx of Kentucky fans on that one comment. Basketball. I don't know. De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk. I don't pay attention to Kentucky at all. I think that we may look back in the offseason at the Celtics hoisting a trophy and just be like, well, yeah, duh. They were the best team in the NBA all season. They marched through the playoffs and they were ready to go. So I think it go 2 ways. It does make me a little nervous just because they look so good right now. But at the same time, and if the Kings ain't winning the finals, I'm okay with the Celtics winning the finals for you. Obviously, we don't have the animosity towards each other on the basketball side as we do on the football side, which is funny because we did have to sit through a Kings Celtics bloody massacre this year that I decided to finance the tickets on, and every month I make a $27 payment on those tickets to my credit card, and it's well, that was a waste of time. I shouldn't have even gone. So shout out to the freaking guy that kept cleaning up the spilled water every 30 seconds next to us. So that was the highlight of my day. Like, hey man, it's piling up. You better wipe it down. That usher, he was on it, bro. Shout out to the Kings organization. They got some quality, hardworking ushers out there at Golden One Center. So,
all right, Drew, we're at the end of the podcast. NFL, NBA stuff. We're gonna continue with the NBA yet. Stuff.
Might as well just keep going.
Yeah, right. We got a couple more hours to go. Drew, you got anything to add in to the very end of this?
Yeah, I need all of you to drop into the comments and give me my apologies for the Justin Field stuff, because we've been on that the entire time. And also all you Minnesota Vikings haters, suck it when you guys they're not taking him at 11. You're right. They're taking him at 5 or 4. You're literally trading up for the dude that you're number one passing offense last year. Yeah, because your rushing game was terrible. You had a trash can at running back. And now the Raiders have a trash can at running back. Congratulations. Which is better than having nothing at running back like the Cowboys have. So, listen. The hot take cannon is ready. And the other thing is we're going to try to do another mock draft, at least. That way, at some point, when every draft pick is made, when we go live for the draft, we'll be like, yeah, it's going to happen. Go to mock draft 1.3. So that's going to be good stuff. We're going to keep pumping out these mocks that way. Of course, the Raiders are going to take some linebacker that was a 4th-round pick in the first round, so we won't have that covered. But Raiders going to Raider. You can't plan for the Raiders. So,
got to tell you what, if they push this mock draft, man, I think it's going to get a ton of clicks. I think I'm gonna say something. Steelers get Brandon Aiyuk, because I'm gonna make sure I not clickbaited, because it's what happens in the mock, but I'm going to make that very clickable so it gets pushed and it gets clicked on. I'm hoping that video is going to blow up for us a little bit. So should be exciting to see how this turns out for us. All right, man. If that's it.
I'm excited for all the Patriots fans to be pissed until they realize they get Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, right?
I was like, are you taking Bo Nix? And you're like, no. I'm like, no. Drama. Drama in the mocks.
All right, man. If that is it for us,
that's it.
I appreciate everybody sticking around till the very end. Make sure to stay tuned, stick in, whatever you want to say. Stay tuned until next week, where we have more draft stuff, more NBA stuff, all NFL, all NBA. Appreciate you guys. See ya.
Peace.